Alright, so I'm outside of the 2020 Honda Pilot Touring, and what's really cool about this is this is the 7-seater, so this actually has captain's chairs. A lot of people that I would talk to in past years would move up to that Elite because they really want the captain's chairs. This kind of gives you that in-between model. So to start you off, 280 horsepower under the hood. So that's what you're working with. From there, you've got a 9-speed transmission. Out here, you've got a 20-inch wheel. So that's when you grab your Touring and start climbing up, they're gonna be at 20s. You've got LED daytime running lights, and then your LED, headlight system, and then your fog light system also. Now the front, you'll notice you got a nice chrome finish on the grille, so a good look there. Your radar is going to be right behind here for some of your Honda sensing features. And then up here in the tent, if you can see it, there's a trapezoid shape. That's where one of the additional cameras is. It's going to help you out. We'll go over those when we get in the car, but I just want to point them out as we move around the vehicle from the outside. Now, you do have your Breakaway mirror system right here, so no worries there. They are Breakaway if need be, and then you do have your LED indicators on them as well. And now on top of the car, you do have a moonroof, and you do have your roof rail system already set up on the car, so that comes on this model, so just be aware of that. And then you have the chrome finish along the bottom as far as preventing anybody from throwing open the door on you. And then you have chrome finish on your door handles additionally too. Now, really quickly, I'll point this out and we'll come back around to this side, but I just want to show you those captain's chairs that I'm talking about in the Touring model. It's just kind of a nice addition without having to jump up $6,000 extra to hop yourself into an Elite. So this one happens to be an all-wheel drive model, so just be aware of that. As far as that goes, if you're looking for two-wheel drive, you're gonna need to drop down trim levels. This does have the sensor, so it does allow me, that's what the sticker is you're seeing here. If I have the key on me, I can throw my foot directly under the center, and it'll pop open for me here and open the back up. I can also additionally do that off the key, so no worries there in case you don't wanna mess with that. Just press the button off the key and it'll pop open. Now I have the third row popped open here just to show you a couple things. One, I do still have space back here that I can use, and I do have additional hidden storage here. Or I can drop this down in if I want, and then I can have some extra space. So I have luggage like carry-ons, they'll actually fit. They'll stack up right here, so I could get 4 of those stacked up in there. Now your seats, I want to show you one other thing. I have it flipped up here, and they'll actually recline a little bit more if I want, so I can get a little bit more back. So if you didn't know that, you can do it. And then I'm gonna release them forward here in a second, just to show you if I'm, hey, I'm not really gonna run with my third row up that often. It's just gonna be kind of an as-is situation when needed. Let's show you what you're working with as far as your storage space. So if I get that set back up, now it's flush. You can see I've got a good amount of storage to work with back here. Very similar to the Passport if you were looking at that model or comparing it considerably. But chances are if you're looking at the Pilot, you probably need that third row, and that's why you're here. And then secondarily, you can press those buttons on the back and you can fold those flat too. So if you need that extra space, you'll just have the gap in the center where of course the captain's chairs land. And then that center console is gonna be stagnant. So it isn't removable, so be aware of that. Your third row passengers will have to either step over that or when you flip these seats forward, they could climb through that way. So just be aware. It's one of those things you run into where occasionally people ask me. Now, in the back, you do have a power outlet back here I wanted to show you. And then down below this, you'll notice you can actually pop that open with something, and that there's a trigger inside you can pull that'll allow you to open your gas can or your gas cap. So if it gets stuck and you can't pop it open, I mean, you could even take the key apart and do it. My key's got a sticker on it right now, or I'll do it for you, but all you do is stick it right there, pop this open, it'll be right there, a little white trigger you pull. So just be aware of that. All right, so let's move around. Let me close this up here real quick. Throw these 4 mats that come with the car back in, and try not to break my sunglasses while I do it. All right, so let's go to the second row and show you a couple things here. All right, so second row. All right, so you can see here, it's got the magic sliding seat here. So I can press this and it'll forward for me and slide up. So it's a one-touch button to do that. So it doesn't require a lot of effort if I want to go through that way, or if you just want to have whoever climb through the center console, they can do that too. So you've got some options. It comes with 2 sets of wireless headphones here, and then if you need more, you can always buy them from Honda and go that route if that's something you want to purchase. So just be aware of that. Now, in the center, I do have heated seats in the back of the vehicle. You'll notice your markings are right there for them. My AC controls. It is a tri-zone climate control, meaning you can control the back and the front, left and right separate of each other. And then down below, you can see I do have an HDMI input, a couple spots where I could plug in wired headphones, and then an actual, plug-in if I needed to plug in some. So if I wanted to run like a gaming system, I absolutely could. And then I've got a couple USBs for charging back here additionally too. Now, with that said, the Touring model does come with a rear entertainment system, so you'll notice that right here. It's a little bit different from previous generations. It used to have a little dill that popped out for your remote control, and now it's just a standard remote, and it's got slots right here that you can slide it into, so just be aware of that and what's going on there. Now, your center console that I mentioned, I just want to show it to you. It's not huge or anything big or anything that I'd really think you get caught up on, and it does have a rubber grip right here, so I guess if you had to stand on it, you could. I really don't like that this isn't removable, but hey, it's part of owning this model, and if you need that climb through space and you want it, maybe it's not that big a deal to you. But just be aware of what's going on related to this. It's not removable, nor is this one. But obviously, with all the electronics, I'm sure you understand that. So I'm gonna hop back out of the car. Sunscreens, I'll just point out that this car does have those in the second row if you need them. All right, so moving out of the car and towards the front. I'm gonna jump on this sticker and see if you can see it here. Just letting you know some stuff. I don't know if you're gonna be able to. Showing you 280 horsepower, the 9-speed transmission. Some of the safety features, you got 6 airbags in the car, 2 front, 2 back, 2 side. And then it's trimmed in leather, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. A lot of this I'll go over in the car, but I just like to touch on it just so you can see it. And if you need to pause for there's something specific, you can. But I know this is really hard to say, so I'm not gonna focus on that too much. But 46 grand is what it is after your $1,095 to deliver it to the dealership. Your gas mileage, 19 in the city, 26 on the highway, combined to 22, and then a 5-star overall crash rating with your crash tests right there. So in case you're wondering about any of that, you've got it right here available to you. This is the deep scarlet pearl with a beige interior. It is a smart key entry, so I can put my hand on it. It'll unlock for me, and then I can press the lock, so I don't have to get my key fob out of my pocket. Over here, got my window controls, so auto up and down on my driver and passenger side. My window locks and my door locks right here. And then you'll notice I've got a trunk release and a gas cap release, and then my hood release is actually right here too. So they're all pretty close to each other, excuse me. Memory seating in this car, so to set it, all I would do is press set. These will light up and flash when the car's on, and then I select one once I have it set to the settings that I prefer. And it'll match up on your back of your key. I've got a sticker on mine, but right here it's saying in small letters driver 1 or driver 2. And that'll correlate with this, along with some of the other features you can affect, like the door locks and different settings on the touchscreen, which I can show you here in a little bit. So powered seat, so back, forth, up, down. This stuff I don't think needs much explanation. You understand how that works. You do have a lower lumbar support, so I'll just point that out real quick. So let's hop in the car, crank her up, and show you a couple things here. All right. So it is a push-button start, which is pretty standard, I think, at this point, and at this trim level, I would kind of expect it. So as long as the key's in the car, it'll crank up for you. I'm going to roll up these windows here, and we'll go over a couple different things here. All right, so over on your left side, the first thing I'm going to show you right there is your mirror controls. Let me turn the AC down a little bit since we got a lot of air noise there. So you can see that I can adjust off my left and my right and then adjust on the pad. What's really cool about this is if I have it flipped all the way to the left and I leave it, whenever I throw the car in reverse, I'm going to do that here, it'll actually throw my mirror down so that I can see. And if I move it over to the other side, it'll do it for me. I can just flip that switch and it flips it down for me. And if I don't want it to do either one of those, I just prefer a standard that, and I'll use the backup camera. I can just leave it in the middle and it won't adjust when I throw into reverse. So just a cool little thing to be aware of. Next to that is the icon button. If I press this, you'll see a green leaf pop on up here and then one down there that stays. It's an improvement on gas mileage is how this function works, but what it does is it shuts down some of the electrical systems in the front of the car, affecting things like your AC unit and your accelerator down below. So just be aware that you're gonna give up a little bit of that power on those two items. So your parking sensors are right down here. You've got an LED to let you know that they're on. These next couple of features don't have an LED, but they're all running, with the exception of this one does have an LED. What this is your road departure mitigation. So if I start to drive off the shoulder of the road, it'll give me an audible alert and shake the wheel to be like, hey, wake up, pay attention. Maybe you're getting drowsy while you're driving. So you can always tell if these are on with the LEDs. Now these other two features are always on and running unless you press and hold them to turn them off, and you have to hold them for a couple seconds. This first one is your collision mitigation braking system. It's a really fancy way of saying, hey, if it's looking like you're gonna rear end somebody, it'll give you an audible alert, it'll flash in the dash, and then it'll actually start to apply the brakes to prevent the accident. So forward collision braking system. Next is vehicle stability assist. This works with your traction control. So if you go into a skid and start to lose traction, whichever wheel is getting better traction on the side of the car, it'll transfer more power to that to help correct the skid. So that's what vehicle stability assist is. Really, the only time I could think to turn this on if you were stuck in the mud and you were trying to spin your tires while somebody was pushing you out, you wouldn't want your traction control to be on because it'll start stopping and freaking out the tires and wheels. It'll be a little bit of pain. So that's about the only time I can come up with turning this off. Now, moving up onto your steering wheel here, I'll give you a shot from the back here so you can see the whole thing. Now, I'm going to start you on your left side over here. This is where you're going to find your Bluetooth control. So to answer a call, to hang up, and use voice command. The voice command button is also going to work with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which, to use so, I would plug into the USB down here, plug my phone in, then once I do that, one of these two will light up depending on what platform you're coming from. And that gives you access to your music, your messages, and your mapping system. So Google Maps, Waze, Apple Maps, whatever it may be, and several other apps. So WhatsApp, iHeartMedia, if you use that, some of your podcast apps, if you're a podcaster, or I should say if you enjoy listening to them. So really cool features, integrates a lot into the car. I like that I can, press and hold this and hear the beep for Siri and then ask Siri, hey Siri, shoot a text to this person, or Siri, hey, do me a favor, give me directions to such and such, right? I can do that with Honda controls, but I find that the the voice system on Apple and Google is just typically better than what Honda uses. So I like the recognition system better with those. And it gives me a little bit more integration in the car and the phone using these with some of the platforms, and then based out the apps that are in those platforms. So that's why I'm saying I can start up Spotify, I can start up Pandora, I can start up iHeartMedia. There's a lot of different other things that I have access to when using Apple CarPlay and the voice command system. So just be aware of that. That's partially what this is for. And then, if I just want to go normal, I could press it, tap it, use the Honda one and say, hey, call so-and-so, or I could press and hold and ask Siri to do it. So it gives you both options, which I really like. Now, your home button right here, this is going to toggle between some menu screens up here. Once you press it once, and then you can toggle through all the different screens that you have here. Now, most of these are going to make pretty good sense. I don't think they need a whole lot. Showing and hiding apps is kind of cool. If there's only 2 that you use, and you can hide the rest, or you can show something. So if something's not being shown, it would look like that. I would click on it, and now it'll be shown. So just be aware of that. Now, moving down, trip info, it's pretty standard stuff. How many miles on this tank of gas, that sort of thing. Back out of that, if you want to see your torque in relation to if you're in all-wheel drive mode, or if it's driving on 4-wheel drive or in 2-wheel drive, you can kind of check this and see. It's just kind of cool to be able to view that, and it's a cool kind of illustration the way it does it as far as that goes. Accessing your Bluetooth, navigation, this will tell you your next turn-by-turn direction. When it's not being used, it does throw up a compass. I know that's a complaint that I get with a lot of people in the lower models that don't have GPS systems built in. They don't have a compass built into them, which is kind of a bummer. I never knew that people cared that much about it, but it is something that matters to a lot of people because they do use them, just to know which way you're facing. So this car does offer a compass, so just be aware of that. Now I'm back out of that screen. Now playing, this will just show me whatever whatever I'm listening to audio-wise, and then I can jump, obviously, tracks, or if I'm listening to the radio, I could jump through my favorite stations using these 2 right here. And then jumping between sources is really cool. You can see if I press up and down, it lets me toggle between all my different options. So I really like that you can quickly change between those. It just makes it really cool. You can see I do have a hard drive here, so I can store music. I've got social playlists, which I'll go over. This is really cool. It allows everybody in the car, if we're all on Wi-Fi together, because the car does offer a hotspot, we can add songs to a playlist together and listen to that playlist. So you don't have to listen to just one person's music, which is really cool, unless you want to. So you can see several different things here, and we'll go over those in a minute, but I just want to show you where it is. Now, your volume controls are right here. Your back button, obviously, if you get into any menu and you want to back out of it, that's what this is for right here. Now, moving over to the right side, some additional Honda sensing features. So when you turn the main button on here, you're going to see ACC and LKS come on. So you can see them flashing at you. ACC stands for Adaptive Cruise Control, and LKAS stands for Lane Keep Assist. Now, Lane Keep Assist uses this button right here. If I toggle that button on, you're going to see some dotted lines appear, much like the dotted lines on the road. When I'm going over 45 miles an hour, it's going to read those lines and they're going to fill in solid. Because what it's doing is it's using a camera. It's up in this box. That's what I pointed out earlier in the glass out front, that trapezoid. It's using a camera to read the lines on the road, and as it picks them up, it's going to fill these lines in solid. And now if I start to drift to the left or the right, what it's going to do is it's going to correct for me and keep me centered. It's just a really cool feature to prevent you from drifting in case you got distracted by your kid, your dog, your coffee spill, whatever it may be. I really like that this feature exists, and you can turn it on and off. So on, off. So if you're one of those persons who doesn't use your blinker a lot and you're worried about this feature kind of annoying you, hey, turn it off. Although I would say, hey, not a bad idea to use your blinkers. Just going to put that out there in the world. Let's spread some positivity there. Now, adaptive cruise control, it's cruise control, but what it has is it's sensors built in. So it's going to use that camera up there, and I was pointing to the H in the grill down earlier, showing you that there's a radar behind it. So what it does is it detects the car in front of you and allows you to keep a distance between that car. Whenever you touch this button after you've set your speed, it's going to show you boxes. The more boxes appear, the more space it's going to keep between the car in front of you. So I would get up to my speed, press set, and then from there, where it sees ACC off, it would show you your speed going, and then from there, I could set that distance that it's going to keep between me and that car in front of me once it picks it up. What's really cool about it is if I set it to 80, so I'm speeding down the highway and I come up on a guy going 65, it'll slow my car down. When I get out from behind him and the sensors detect nothing in front, it's going to take me back up to the speed that I have set for the car. So it's just really cool in that sense. But if you're saying, hey, what if I just want to use classic cruise control? No big deal. Press and hold. And it turns off and just goes to classic cruise mode. And then from there, now it's just a standard, set, cancel, resume, and then I can, positive gain miles and use the minus to drop my speed. So if I set it to 60, you want to drop down to 55 or go up, right? And then if I want to switch it back, press and hold again, and I'm back to ACC mode. So that's how to toggle between the two. Now, you do have paddle shifters on this car with this 9-speed transmission, so you can upshift and downshift on your own if you want. It just gives you a little bit more control over the car. Not a huge proponent of paddle shifters, but they're there, and I know that a lot of people do like a little bit of additional control on the vehicle. It does have auto on-off headlights, and you can see it's set there right now, and then my fog light controls are right here to turn them on and off. And then over on the other side, I've got pull it down and do my front windshield wipers, as you can see, and then to control my back, I can do it from right here. It does have rain sensing windshield wipers on the car, so it's kind of a cool feature. Or excuse me, you'd want to go up to your Elite for the rain sensing wipers, so don't let me lie to you there. Other things you would want if you're going up to the Elite, or that you would be gaining, just in case you're curious, is a heated steering wheel. It does come with captain's chairs automatically. They would be heated and cooled in the front and heated in the back. And then you would have a panoramic moonroof. So if you're thinking, hey, what's in the Elite? What am I paying that extra $6,000 for? That's really what it is. So you can see where this touring 7-seater is kind of a game changer from that standpoint, because it can save you some money and get you into something that might work for you. Now on the touchscreen up here, I like the touchscreen. It's a nice big display. It's easy to read, although everything's big icons. So you shouldn't have an issue with this. And it's customizable. If I hold down on one of them, it'll pull up this screen right here. And then from there, I can start moving stuff around. So if I like stuff in a certain place, I want to grab something off the second screen and move it over to here, I can absolutely do that. And then when I'm done, just press done. So really easy to use. And you can even customize up here, which I really like. You can change those to different things. So just be aware of that. Now, related to this, I just want to touch on these and kind of explain what they are. FM obviously is exactly what it sounds like. The car does have HD radio. So just be aware that that is available to you in this model. And whenever you touch on one, it'll give you some options as to choose, hey, do I want to choose one or two up here? You can see. So I'm back out of that. Jump over here to Bluetooth. You can connect up, obviously, via Bluetooth and be able to listen to a device, whether it be your phone or whatever it may be. If you've never connected a device, it'll prompt you right there, and you can go. Rear entertainment system, this allows you to control what's on the back screen, which I really like, just because you can affect certain things, and there's some different things you can do here. So, I power it on. Once it comes on, it pulls up some immediate apps, which is really cool. Whether I'm throwing in a Bluetooth, which you can also use this as a CD player. So if you wanted to play a CD, yes, you do have the capability of listening to audio off of this. But what's really cool is right now what I have running is the How Much Further app. And what's really cool about it is it's literally let's see if I can get this back here and you can see it. I don't know if I'm aimed at it. I'm holding it kind of crooked probably. But what it does is along the journey, it'll tell them how much further, so they don't have to play that game of asking you 20 times. So it's just really cool that it does that. Now, let's say they have the headphones on and they're watching a DVD or whatever it may be, and you need to talk to them. You have cabin talk built in this car, which allows you to talk over the headphones. So it'll lower the volume. You could speak with them. That way they're not ignoring you, or it seems like it. And then once you're done, obviously you could exit out of the screen. So it's just a really cool feature that exists in the car, allowing you to still have communication with those in the second and third row. And then the remote, if I need to adjust anything on it. So remote would be enabled if I had like a DVD or Blu-ray plugged in. That from there I could control everything going on, which is really nice to know that I can affect volume. I can pause it. I can do everything from up here, right from this screen right here. So I don't have to, worry about messing with anything or get one of them to not fight over the remote control. It does have some options of different media servers and different things that you can access, which is really cool. Because not only is it just a Blu-ray player, but it gives you some additional functions and features. So that is going to be your rear entertainment system. Your clock, obviously what it sounds like if you want to adjust it. You can see on this one that I dropped in an image just to show you that you could do it. So that's pretty cool that you can. If you want to customize it, you absolutely can, right? And to do that, you would just go to your settings and then go to your clock faces, and you can adjust from here. So I'm going to change this to just something normal, just to get it back to a classic look. So obviously you can affect the sizing and everything related to that. Navigation set up through Garmin. It's a pretty cool system. Works really well. It's set up a lot like a phone. You can pinch, you can pull, you can move stuff around. So easy to understand, and a lot of people, don't have an issue working from it. Where to, and then it'll pull up your different options as far as, hey, you can set your home address, your searching tool. You can save addresses once you've gone there once, which I really like because a lot of people go to the same 5 and 6 places a lot, but maybe you're not leaving from the same location to go to those destinations. And then categories. If I'm looking for a gas station, if I'm looking for shopping, food, whatever's around me, instead of pulling out my phone and having to Google it, I can do it this way too. So just some different things. It's really easy to use. It's a simple interface. I find that it works really well, and it's Garmin. They've been doing this for years, so they're pretty darn good at it. Now your phone, if you've never connected up a phone to the car, it'll prompt you to do that the first time and ask you, and then from here you could hit connect new device, and then turn your Bluetooth on and let it search for you. Now, if you've already connected your phone, but you want to add a second, third, or fourth phone, you're going to need to go to the settings in the car. So just be aware of that. I can go over to settings right here, and then go to connections, and then I would go to Bluetooth because I want to add a new connection, and I'm back at that same screen, add connection, and go from there. Turn my Bluetooth on. You can connect up to 6 devices to the car. Android out on Apple CarPlay. Like I mentioned earlier, you just got to plug your phone into the USB. If you're an Android-based user, you're going to download the Android Auto app, which is free in the Play Store. Just be aware of that. Apple users, you don't got to do anything. Just work through the prompts until these light up and you're good to go. Now, moving over, trip computer. This will pull up and just show you, some trip info if that's what you want to see. It's that same info that I showed you earlier that you can access. So if I want to see that same info, I can see it here, right? So just be aware that that's in a couple different places if you want it. Now, SMS function to read text aloud to you. 90 days of Sirius XM satellite comes with the car. I don't think I need to explain Sirius XM to anybody. We all have a general understanding of what it is and how it works. USBs, I can plug a thumb drive in here, which is really nice, and be able to run music off of it. And then additionally, as far as just outlets go, I have a power outlet here. I've got an additional power outlet down there, and then another auxiliary input right there, along with a USB. So I can plug in there too if I wanted. So just be aware that you have a couple different USBs and ways to plug in. So aux import I just went over. Social playlist is what I mentioned earlier. You'd all be connected up to the Wi-Fi, and you'd be able to add to this playlist, which is really cool. AM, I don't think I need to explain that. And system updates, we all understand how that works. The hotspot's pretty easy to understand. You get 90 days for free. And then after that, I believe it's $10 a month. Last I checked via AT&T. You can look them up. Just if you type in AT hotspot and then Honda, it'll pull up and allow you to turn it on. If you're using the trial period still, literally all you have to do is hit that button, and then it gives you, all your stuff here as far as the, your passwords and SSIDs and everything. So easy to understand and use. So jump back out of that screen and scroll on through here. If I have my USB and I plug it in, I can store music literally to the car, or I could just leave that USB plugged in. So two different ways I can store music to the car. So a lot of different connectivity as far as audio and different things. They really plan for this car to be a traveler and to take long trips, and they're setting you up for a success with that. So settings, some different things that you can play with in here. Vehicles, where I would go to play a lot of times just because I want to mess with the door setup as far as the door locks. So when you're getting in and out of the car, when you hit 10 miles an hour, it'll automatically lock the doors for you, which I like, but maybe you want to set it to when you shift apart because you got kiddos, or you want to turn it completely off because you're the only person who really rides in the car. And then door unlock. So when I open the driver's side door when I'm getting out, it'll then unlock the remaining doors of the car. Maybe you don't want your kiddos having immediately a door unlocked, so maybe you want to set it to shifting to park or the ignition off, or you want to turn it completely off. So that's there too. So those are those top two features on the door setup, and then so I'm going to jump back out of that. You can kind of scroll around and see that you do have some other features in here that you can play with that are really cool. So just be aware that they're all in here. I specifically like keyless access setup for this one feature right here, Walkaway Auto Lock. What that is if I enable this feature, when I leave the car and I get 10 feet from it, if I have my keys with me, it'll automatically lock the doors of the car. So if you get halfway into a grocery store or into work and you realize, oh my God, I left my laptop in the car and I'm worried that the doors are unlocked, if you have this function on, it'll automatically lock the doors. But the default is for this feature to be off, so be aware of that. So if I want to get to those features again, I'll show you how to do it. We're going to go to the settings. Then from there, we're going to go to vehicle. And now the door setup is going to be your door locks, right? And then I believe that was the keyless access setup. The one right above it is where you will find the Walkaway Auto Lock feature. So that's where all those features are. And there's plenty of other stuff you can play with in here, but those are just like the big three that I feel like most people have questions about. Cabin talk, you already saw how that works. And then Hondalink. When you're in these touring and elite models, it actually is pretty cool. Not only do you have the access to where a free feature that all Hondas get is if you the airbags deploy, Honda will first try to call down to your car if you have this turned on when you connect up your phone, which will prompt you. If you don't answer, they'll send out EMS to you via GPS location along with your year, make, model, and VIN number so they can find you. That's 100% free. Now, some of the subscription-based features that they give you for free for a few months that you can continue would be, hey, do I want to start the car from my phone? Do I want to affect the door locks from my phone? Do I want a concierge feature and some different things like that? That's where you can learn more about that and kind of what all they offer if you go to Hondalink.com. But at the touring model, you're going to have access to some of those for at least a couple months, and then afterwards you could subscribe to them. And then up here you can see, related to my Hondalink and my the concierge service that I was mentioning earlier. So you have some of those buttons for those features right there. While I'm pointed up here, I'll just actually getting washed out here, but you can see that I can throw my door lights on when I open and close the door. I've got 3 different settings here. And then as far as opening my my moonroof in the vehicle, and then I do have HomeLink set up so I can set up garage clicker, gate clicker, and all that. That way I don't have to carry them all around in the car, or I can put them in the other car. Now, as we slide down, tri-zone climate control. So left, right, and rear are all separate of each other. If I have them synced, I can control them all off the same one. So you can see them all adjusting, right? Unsync them, now I'm only working on one side. And if I want to jump over to the rear settings, I got it right there. And then I can adjust, accordingly, however. And then they have controls in the back, as you saw. But you can lock those controls. So if somebody's playing with buttons, now I don't have to worry about anybody playing with buttons. And then I can jump back out to the full controls. So that is what's going on with your AC controls. Now, your heated seats up front. If you're looking for those ventilated seats, you want to go up to that Elite model that I was mentioning earlier. That would get you the Elite model will get you the ventilated seats in the front, the captain chairs in the back, which this model has, the panoramic moonroof, and then the heated steering wheel additionally too. So just some different features if you're thinking about, hey, is it worth it to jump up a model? You can decide if those features are really worth it to you. Your Blu-ray player, your power outlets that I pointed out, your shifter, so not a classic shifter here, it's buttons and triggers that you pull as you go. So seeing that, I'm gonna throw it in reverse just to show you some different things. The car does have parking sensors on it, so it'll alert me if I'm coming up on any of these areas. I really like that it gives me a graphic there too. And then I've got 3 different views for my backup camera. So, you know, standard backup camera right there, a little wide angle action, and then one aim straight down. Dotted line is where the hatch will open up to. Solid line is for parallel parking. So backing up to my garage because it's raining. I'm trying not to, you know, I got to get groceries out and it's raining. I can make sure my garage door lands on the other side and I'll be able to open it to create space enough to open it, but not get soaked while I'm walking out there. And those are on all 3 of these views right here. So pretty cool that it does that. Cross traffic monitoring, this feature is currently on unless I turn it off. And you can see if it's lit up blue, it's on. What that means is if I'm backing out and somebody's coming from my left or right, it'll give me an arrow on the screen and give me an audible alert to let you know, hey, there's somebody coming from that direction. It's using the sensors off the corners of the bumper to detect that. So really cool setup it's got here, along with the front and back parking sensors. You've got the sensors right here, and then you've got the 3 different views. So that is all going to be part of your backup camera. Your drive function, if you want to shift between normal, snow, mud, and it gets you a cool graphic. So it'll just shift, it affects the shifting points on the car to help create more traction. That's what these are. And then your idle, stop, start. Not a huge fan of this, but you can turn it on and off, but it's per every journey. So every time I crank on the car, if I don't want this on to where when I come to a stop, it'll turn off the engine but keep everything else on to save gas mileage, I would have to press this button. But it does give you the option at least, which is cooler because some cars don't even give you that. Now in your center console, I showed you earlier, you've got your power outlet, and then you've got your auxiliary input and your USB, and then I've got a change holder and then some storage area. And I do like that you can completely close this up and keep it hidden off in case you fill it with junk or in case you just don't want things showing. Tops are always going to be black, and that's to prevent glare. And then, of course, your floorboards are always going to be that dark charcoal black to prevent dirt from showing and scuffs. This one has a tan interior, so just you can see what's going on. And I've got leather here, leather here, leather here, and then not on the shifter in this car like some of my other models because I don't have a classic shifter. And then, of course, leather in my 2 rows behind it. And then you can see my look out the back window. So I got some pretty good visibility. Mind you, I do have that 3rd row thrown down to help out. So up next, we'll take a test drive. We'll go over, you know, hey, is it worth it to jump up a model? Should I go down a model? And then of course, we'll go over, hey, what's the ride like in this car and how the safety features that we talked about, how do they work? So up next. All right, guys, so I'm inside of this 2020 Honda Pilot Touring, and this is the 7-seater, and this specific model is all-wheel drive. So available in all-wheel drive and 2-wheel drive. Now, as we start to head down the road, the first thing I tell you is it's a very smooth transition. When it comes to the 9-speed transmission, I don't run into a lot of issues as far as, you know, feeling clunky or anything like that. The only time I've ever been able to access anything that kind of, you know, can throw it for a little bit of loop is in your lower gears as far as shifting. But I'm going to gas it hard and we're going to see how it goes. So shifting up, just dropped down a couple gears and we're up to 60 that quick. So I didn't have any issues with the takeoff or anything related to that. So when it comes to shifting in the car, the only times I've ever run into some issues, and this would be the very first generation of this model, which was some years back, would have been when you're in those super low speeds and it's trying to decipher between a drive in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, that kind of thing. But now, I mean, you could see I was able to gas it and go, and it goes up and kind of transitions through those gears quite smoothly. So I like that about this car. And it's a question I get asked, hey, what are your thoughts on the, you know, on the transmission of this versus the models above it, below, that kind of thing. So in relation, that's kind of a quick answer for you. Now, as we make our way around this bend, I've got adaptive cruise control on, and I'm going to turn on lane keep assist. So that way I can kind of check these features and make sure they work. Now, this car has had these features for a few years now, so I don't imagine we'll run into any issues with this, but I always like to check to make sure. And while we're doing that, I will mention this year you're seeing a special edition land in the Pilot, which indicative of previous years and any of the other trim levels would let you know, hey, usually a special edition lands right before they're about to make some sort of change, whether it be a massive body style change or some sort of change. I've seen this happen in the Accord, the CR-V, and the Civic, all landed a special edition right before they make some sort of big body change. So that would be my expectation for a 2021, in case you're thinking, hey, what's the 21 gonna do? Is it gonna be different? Is it not? This would kind of indicate if Honda typically does anything related to their past, I would expect there to be a change. So just something to keep your mind open to and be aware of if you're thinking, hey, should I buy this car? I would maybe see if you can find any info on a 2021. Probably won't be able to find much yet, but this is usually one of those signs. As we get down the road though, I've got adaptive cruise control set up here. I've got lane keep assist running. So once we get on the highway here, I'll set a speed and we'll kind of check those functions and features out. They typically work really well. I can see that my lane keep assist is already actively reading the road for me as I'm on the on-ramp. So you can see I can kind of pull my hands up here and it'll keep me centered in my lane, although I want to be safe and keep them kind of floating around, of course, my car. So even as I come onto the lane here, as I merge on, it's keeping me centered here and moving along the road, which is really cool. So as I get over here, if I use my blinker, it won't affect me as far as the adaptive cruise control, excuse me, the lane keep assist. And I'm gonna get up to speed and set my speed here so I can kind of test this out. So I've got it set to 71. I'm coming up on a car. Perfect. I had the distance set the furthest I could. It immediately set my gap and started slowing me down a little bit. So I'm down to 62 now. So the adaptive cruise control works just as well as it has in the past. I can decrease that speed and it'll start taking me up closer to that vehicle in front of me, which really means it's trying to take me back to my designated speed. So my lane keep assist feature is working great. My adaptive cruise control features are working great. Parking sensors I haven't checked yet, but I expect those to work. And then my forward collision system, hopefully we don't have to test that because I don't want to get that close to a car that looks like I'm going to rear end them. As we move down the road though, if you're climbing to the model above this, I mentioned it earlier, some of the things you would gain. If I go up to the Elite, I would be looking at captain's chairs automatically versus this touring 7-seater that they've kind of made to help out in case you don't want to jump up. But I would also be gaining a heated steering wheel, so if that's important to you. Ventilated front seats, so they're heated and ventilated up front. You know, so just be aware that right now in this model they're only heated. And then I would gain a panoramic moonroof in the back of the car. So if any of those features are important to you, maybe the Elite is something you want to look at, but you are looking at a good jump, man. This is like a $6,000 jump between the two models. So for me personally, I wouldn't recommend it just because none of those features really, to me, justify a $6,000 jump, but maybe they do for you. Maybe you take a lot of trips, maybe you live in a hot state. I'm here in Texas and it's, I think, 94 is what it reads right now. Maybe ventilated seats are something you really want. And that's worth the jump to you because, hey, I'm gonna drive this car for, you know, until the wheels fall off, and I'm okay with paying for that. But if they're not, be aware that that's kind of, you know, what the jump is, and those are some of the features you're gaining. Now, the model below this is gonna be that special edition. So they kind of throw you for a loop this year because they're giving you roof rails, you know, they're giving you the hands-free tailgate, but they're not gonna give you like some of the navigation and the rear entertainment system. So it's kind of a weird one that lands right below this, when really I would drop it kind of down below that EXL model because it does have leather, but it kind of lands in a funky spot. Because the EXL is also going to be that same thing, where it's going to give you most of these features, but you're going to lose out on the navigation and of course the rear entertainment system. So if those are features that you really want, you're going to push yourself up into a touring model. Now, navigation-wise, could you plug your phone into the USB and use Apple CarPlay and Android Auto in an EXL or in a special edition? Absolutely you could, and typically that's how I would try to sell you on it, unless you absolutely wanted these features. Now, the rear entertainment system, they offer aftermarket features you can add, whether you want them in the headrest or you want to flip down like this car has. So there are aftermarket things you can do, but a lot of my customers I talk to typically, you know, if they got 1 or 2 kids, sometimes say, you know, they have tablets, they can watch stuff on that, and to be honest, I've only got one screen here, so they all have to agree on something to watch versus having a tablet and being able to watch different things, or having the head units, the headrest units where they can watch 2 different things at once. So just some things to keep in mind in case you're thinking, I really have to have rear entertainment. These are the things you're gonna run into of, can I get my kids or whoever's in the back to agree on one thing to watch? Sometimes that can be a struggle. Reason I mentioned that, I have a brother who happens to have 4 kids, so he gives me some of these insights because he does own a Honda Pilot. And those are some things he's run into as far as related to that, and kind of his workarounds to it. So I'm not speaking from my experience, but I am speaking from experience close by. Now, as far as the ride quality goes, it's a super smooth ride. Quietness, it's definitely a quiet ride. I can easily have a quiet conversation if the kiddos were in the back. We don't have to yell or talk over anybody or anything like that. Really good vehicle when it comes to taking long trips. This and my Honda Odyssey are probably 2 of the best as far as that goes. Do I think my Honda Odyssey is maybe a little bit quieter, a little bit smoother? Yes, but not everybody wants to be a minivan owner, and I understand that. Sometimes your pride just won't let you do it. And if that's the case, or you just like the styling, and if you're gonna spend $40,000, $50,000, you really wanna like what you're buying, I understand. So know that that quality of ride is gonna be the same in those 2 models. It's really just gonna be in this one, you're gonna sit a little bit higher up. In the Odyssey, you're gonna have a little bit different seating arrangement and a little bit more versatility as far as being able to remove seats and have a sliding rail system. If you don't know about that, I've made videos on that. You can check them out. At the very end of this video, I'll have my 2020 reviews where you can hop through and look, or you can just search 2020 Honda Odyssey, fill in whatever trim level you wanna look at, so Elite, Touring, whatever it is, and then put quick review and it'll probably pop up my video. Now, outside of that, can I recommend this car? Absolutely I can. I've got family members in them that I helped get them into. I think it's a fantastic ride. As far as the quality, the seating, everything like that, I really, really like it. The only thing that I don't like is it doesn't offer as much versatility in the seating as the Odyssey would, but that depends if you want to be an Odyssey minivan owner. Outside of that, do I think the Touring is worth it? It can be if you have the needs for it, right? So if you need the navigation, you need the rear entertainment system, you feel like those are wants or needs, I would say, yeah, this is a fantastic vehicle to be in. Could you make do in an EXL, save yourself about 10 grand and just use, whether it be, aftermarket add-ons or tablets? Absolutely you could. And typically that's what I would recommend if you're on a budget. But, hey, if your budget is a little bit more, you can afford it, and you really want these things to be built in so that you don't have to worry about charging tablets and plugging stuff in and things like that, well, it would be a great option if you can afford it. I don't know what your budget is, but keep that in mind. There are workarounds in case you're thinking, I really can't afford this car, but it has all the things I need. With that said, ride quality is great, transmission is great, engine power is great. It's a smooth ride, it's super quiet. My seats are pretty plush and comfy, so I like a lot about this car. I would recommend it to most anybody, including my family. So that's kind of my take on the car. If you have questions about this car or any other cars, please let me know. You can comment on the YouTube video. You can always call me or text me. My cell is 737-443-9555, or you can email me if you prefer that, jf_1064@yahoo. So however you want to reach me, feel free to reach out. Let me know what you think, but I do have a few favors to ask you. 1, please subscribe. 2, please like the video. 3, please comment, even if it's on the spit that just flew out of my mouth. And let me know what you think. If you want to see a video on something specific, please let me know. I'm always looking for new content to shoot, and I'd love to help you out if there's anything I can do. All right then, guys, have a good one. Bye.